This is a time of year that has many presentations, many moments where we get together and reflect. But none more important, actually, than today. We have a little gift for every member of the senior class, and juniors, you can look forward to this next year. But the Koch Foundation feels very strongly about having you graduate from the upper school with a sense of mission. And that is what our presentation to you today is all about. You're going to get copies of two important documents today, seniors: the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. And I'll be speaking about the Declaration for a moment here, and then Mr. Bay will pick up the Constitution. Then we'll let the juniors leave, and seniors will present you with your documents before you leave. So, without further ado, hopefully you recognize this document. Words. Words can be direct. They can be misleading. Sometimes they say exactly what we think they say, and sometimes their meaning is exactly the opposite of what we supposed. Because of this, early on, then, we learn not to trust words. We learn it's not what you say, it's what you do that matters. We learn to respect those who walk the walk, not merely those who talk the talk. But there's a drawback to this underestimation of the power and value of words. There are moments in history when words have been the great enablers of magnificent deeds. Without such inspired and inspiring words, the deeds might never have been accomplished. These are the kind of words we're gathered together here to celebrate today. And this leads to a couple of obvious questions. First, how can we recognize these kinds of words? What makes them so indispensable to human progress? I think it's important for everyone to know, because we have not only American citizens here, but citizens from around the world, that the kind of words we're talking about are not addressed solely to any single nation, nor to any ethnic or religious group. These kind of words must ring true to anyone who hears them, regardless of their country, their state, or their status. Secondly, these kind of words must, in their phrasing and sound, be memorable, something that lingers in the mind past a simple single hearing. And last, these sorts of words need to constitute a call to action. They are not philosophic musings. They're trumpet blasts addressed to the human spirit. If language can live up to these three criteria, it begins to provide words to live by, not simply to hear or speak. And never have there been any clearer examples of such words than those found in the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration is actually two documents in one. On one hand, it is undoubtedly a historical document, rooted in the 18th century conflict between Great Britain and its 13 colonies grouped on the eastern seaboard of a vast and, at the time, still unexplored continent. The Declaration is full of itemized complaints from the colonies, aimed at identifying the abuses colonists felt they had received from the overbearing English government. As such, the Declaration stands as a justification for a war between these colonies and Great Britain. a war that had already been raging a full year before the Declaration appeared, and a war that would continue for 7 years after its publication. But the Declaration's greatest legacy to all of us, to all mankind, is not simply a historical document. Its real genius lies in its ability to articulate and make memorable 3 universal truths. Truths which, although they had been stated before in different ways and in divergent voices, had never resonated as they now did in the words crafted largely by Thomas Jefferson. These 3 truths concern the true nature of man, the true nature of government, and the rights and obligations of enlightened citizenship. These are words for all mankind in every age. The way they're structured here is fascinating, and they get increasingly radical. So let's look at these 3 truths for a minute. Probably the truths articulating the nature of man are the most familiar to you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, while you might argue about equality, certainly every child born into the world could be seen as equal. And surely we all deserve the right to live. Nobody'd quibble with that. But what Thomas Jefferson starts to do here is to say, what does it mean to be alive? If you're not free, are you alive? If you cannot pursue, not happiness, he's not talking about having your favorite flavor of ice cream here. He's talking about the happiness which comes from being able to become the most you can become without being limited. If you don't have those things, you're not truly alive. And it's your right to be alive, and it's your right to be free, and it's your right to pursue those ideals. And that is the nature of man. Well, if that's true, then what should be the nature of government? And now he gets even more radical. To secure these rights. Okay, that makes sense. Government are instituted among men. Well, yeah. If you have a government, if you have a right to life, that government ought to support it. If you have a right to liberty, the government ought to provide the context in which you can be and feel free and achieve the highest goals possible. But where he gets radical is here, that these governments derive their just powers not from some king, not from some divine right, but from the consent of the governed. That's radical. But it's also completely consistent with the first great theme. If it's my right to life and right to be free and right to become whatever I can become, then somehow my government has to reflect what I need.